We're talking wide receiver and tight end Dynasty ADP on today's episode of Locked On Dynasty.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Here are your hosts, Matt Williamson and Ryan McDowell.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms. Today's episode of Locked On Dynasty is presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy. Pick between 2 and 5 players, and if they score more or less than their Prize Picks projection, you can win up to 10 times the money on your entry. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Welcome to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan McDowell. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanMC23. Joining me as always is Matt Williamson. Find Matt on Twitter at WilliamsonNFL. Matt, how's it going today?
It's going well. We had a fun one last night, and let's do another one. Good
Absolutely. Stuff. We're talking new Dynasty ADP this week. We discussed the quarterbacks and running backs yesterday. You know, normally we just kind of go through those lists. We talk about players that stand out. Maybe they're rising or falling, or they're in the news or noteworthy for whatever reason. And I don't know. I decided to throw Matt a little curveball. Yeah. He says, there's nothing on the agenda. What's going on? And I said, you're making the agenda this time. You're guessing the top quarterbacks, the top running backs. And he did, I got to say, a really good job. The bottom of that running back list got a little hairy with Najee Harris and DeAndre Swift somehow making that list. And that messed Matt up a little bit. But overall, really strong effort. We'll see how the pass catchers go today. And
a lot more to pick from.
A lot more to pick from. Let's just get it over with. Let's start with the tight ends.
I was in the wide receiver mind frame. Okay.
I know you're not looking forward to this tight end group. Right. There's some easy ones at the top.
Of course.
It's going to get challenging. Again, just like yesterday, if you checked out that episode, Matt's going to guess the top 10 Dynasty tight ends. We're looking at January DLF Dynasty ADP. That is not on the site yet. We always try to reveal that a little bit early and give you guys a sneak peek to that. It will be posted on dynastyleaguefootball.com very soon in the coming days. But until then, you're going to learn the top 10 Dynasty tight ends along with our buddy Matt. Who you got?
Well, I know the top 3, and I don't know the order as it stands on January 10th here or whatever it is. Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts are still at the top. Am I correct about that?
You're correct with the players. What do you think the order is?
Andrews should be third to me.
Knowing what you know about Dynasty and right. Dynasty players in the offseason, and
I'm going to go Pitts, Kelsey, Andrews.
Okay, Pitts is first, back at the top of the tight end list, the Dynasty tight end one. I know you said on here a couple weeks ago that's where he is for you. He's back at the top of the list.
But I suffered through him this year like all his owners did. It was brutal.
You don't sound Andrews convinced. Third? Andrews the second. Andrews the second.
I have problems with that. We talked a little Lamar last night, and yeah, I don't know if he throws another pass for the Ravens. To be honest with you,
that's what I was going to say. Do you think he's back?
No, I mean, some people that I trust have told me, don't be surprised if Lamar ends up in the NFC South. And that doesn't narrow it down completely, but there's more than one team that is very interested in him. And this contract stuff is hanging. The injury stuff is hanging. I tend to think he probably won't play this weekend. Maybe by the time people listen to this, they'll know. And I don't think they win without him. And I think they look at this offense and say, we have to do something different. We have to throw the ball to wide receivers. This isn't working.
Well, I'm certainly not as connected in NFL circles as you are. But I mean, I've seen a couple of mock drafts that have been posted. I've seen just some rumors on Twitter with connections between Lamar Jackson and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm assuming that's kind of what you're hinting at.
I think Carolina would also be very involved too.
Okay. All right. Well, that's going to be, that's going to make for a fun offseason. But we're talking tight ends here. Pitts, Andrews, Kelsey. That is the order. Matt disagrees with it. I think I disagree with it as well. But that's kind of how it is for now. Who else?
I'm sure Kittle's still near the top.
Kittle is tight end 4. So
okay, this little Purdy spike I think is real. So I'm going to give him credit for that.
Okay.
Hawkinson has to be very close to the top too.
He is tight end 5, and I think there's an argument to rank him above Kittle.
Yeah,
maybe even higher on that list if you want to focus on age or honestly.
The move to Minnesota has been very good for him.
Oh,
clearly they
huge,
have a plan.
Huge,
yeah.
So I think we're looking at it's certainly a teardrop here after tight end 5. And this is where it gets messy. There's 2 more easy ones, certainly.
I think there's 2 more very easy ones that might be close, that I might have closer to Hawk than you do.
Okay.
And that is Goddard and Freiermuth.
And that is the tight end 6 and tight end 7 in that order. Dallas Goedert, tight end 6, and Pat Freiermuth, tight end 7. Those Pennsylvania tight ends have something going on there in Philly and in Pittsburgh, of course. Now you're just spitballing names. Now that's all we've got.
I was hoping I could read the TurboTax read and think about it in the back of my mind. But is Waller still there?
Waller is the next one. Tight end.
Oh wow! 8. I didn't think that.
Well, and he's back. I mean, he had fallen out of that tight end 1 range in some recent ADP, and with I would say a pretty strong end to the season as he came back from that injury. I thought he played well. I think he's going to be a great trade target this offseason if his value doesn't get out of control, which I don't think it'll happen. We'll see what they do at quarterback. But I like Waller as a buy this offseason.
This might not be as hard as I think because I need 2 more.
You need 2 more. I was surprised. At least one of them. But
there's 2 that I think are easy, unless I'm sleeping on somebody else that would round it out for me, that I would be very comfortable owning and starting going forward. And that's Njoku and Ingram.
Ingram is on the list and he is next. He is the tight end 9. So you got that one correct. I'm looking at this list because
it's probably Schultz then, huh?
I feel like David Njoku should have been there as well.
Yeah.
Starting to doubt myself. Maybe I missed him, but that does not look like the case. It is Dalton Schultz. Schultz is 1 spot behind Evan Ingram. So they are back to back, just near the bottom of the top 100 overall players. And those are your top 10 dynasty tight ends. I disagree with a lot of that. Pitts, Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle, Hawkinson, Goddard, Freiermuth, Waller, Ingram, and Schultz. Matt, let's just end the tight end conversation with this. If your choices are pay up for Pitts, Andrews, or Kelsey, or take a little bit of a discount on Hawkinson, Goddard, Freiermuth this offseason, which way are you going?
Door number 2.
Yeah, me
and I might even have Njoku close to that neighborhood.
Okay.
The one that I wouldn't buy for the price is Waller. And Schultz would be my second one I wouldn't buy for the price.
Agree on Schultz.
I don't know what to do about Waller.
Well, the Cowboys played Jake Ferguson quite a bit. They played Peyton Hendershot quite a bit. A couple of rookies that they got on day 3 of the most recent draft. And Dalton Schultz was franchise tagged last year. I think it's very conceivable that they let Schultz walk and they turn it over to some type of committee of Ferguson and Hendershot. I think those 2, both might be on waiver wires in some leagues. And Hendershot almost certainly is. Grab those 2 this offseason if you can. Matt,
I grabbed Ferguson like 4 weeks ago in 3 of my leagues. He's somebody that should not be out there. Yeah.
We are going to do the same discussion with wide receivers right after this.
Everybody hates doing taxes. Well, I hate doing taxes. And the beauty of TurboTax is you don't have to do taxes. So go to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Meet with an expert and they'll do them for you. So TurboTax experts can relieve you from the stress of taxes and file for you so you can do anything but taxes. Show your eyes things that aren't taxes. Unpack a box full of stuff that isn't taxes. Taste things that aren't taxes. Sing songs that aren't taxes. Hope not taxes sleeps through the night. Grab a saddle and ride not taxes into the sunset. Just don't do your taxes. With TurboTax, an expert will do your taxes from start to finish, ensuring your taxes are done right so you can relax, guaranteed. Feels good to be done with your taxes, doesn't it? Come to TurboTax and don't do your taxes. Visit TurboTax.com to learn more. Intuit TurboTax, full service products only. Video meetings while expert does your taxes is required. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guaranteed. I've also told you guys about Ultimate Football GM before as well. I mean, when I was a kid, there's nothing I liked better than building teams and pretending I was a GM, and that's why I end up doing this, what I do for a living, obviously. So if you've ever dreamed of becoming an NFL GM, as I have, well, your dream can come true, and this game is absolutely for you. So manage every strategic aspect of your team, play through the entire season, and lead your team to glory, hopefully. You're responsible for, you got to hire the right coaches as well as coordinators. You got to trade for players, trade your own guys, making draft picks, which is probably the most fun part of it, navigating your franchise through free agency and the draft and all the ups and downs of a season. All this in a challenging and realistic game world. Ultimate Football GM is completely free and playable offline. Play on the go as you want and when you want to. So Locked On Dynasty listeners get a 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On, all caps, in the game store. That's Locked On. So make sure you check it out immediately. To download this game, just visit ultimate-gm.com or look it up in the app stores. That's ultimate-gm.com. Ultimate Football GM. Start your dynasty today.
Thanks for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen every day. Subscribe to the Locked On NFL podcast and get daily conversations on the biggest NFL stories, plus in-depth analysis on the biggest games with NFL key predictions every Friday. And Monday, local insiders cover the weekend games with game-to-game episodes. Locked On NFL, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. All right, Matt, let's talk about these wide receivers. You've got it figured out now. You know the game. Who are the top 10 dynasty wideouts?
Well, let's knock out the top two. I mean, that's Jefferson and Chase. Everyone on the planet that's ever played Dynasty knows that. I mean, that's an easy one. Slam dunk.
Yes, correct. In that order, Jefferson. And those are also the top two overall players in our Dynasty ADP. Actually, the top four wide receivers represent the top four players drafted in the ADP overall. We talked about Jonathan Taylor yesterday. He's the 105. He's the first non-wide receiver in this ADP.
Okay. I'm going to go with A.J. Brown.
He is third.
Okay. I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle.
He is not fourth.
He's not fourth, but yeah.
He's not fourth. He is the wide receiver 5, and he's sixth overall. I told you yesterday there are 4 running backs among the top 12. Of course, the rest are wide receivers. So we've got 4 running backs and 8 wide receivers in the first round. Waddle is the wide receiver 5 and 6 overall.
Okay. I'm quite certain CeeDee Lamb's in the top 10 and probably right in this neighborhood as well.
Yep, he's the 4th. So
okay.
So our data goes Jefferson, Chase, A.J. Brown, Lamb, then over to Jonathan Taylor, and back to the wide receiver position with Jalen Waddle. Those are your top 6 players overall.
Okay. So I need 5 more receivers, correct?
You need 5 more receivers. That's it.
Okay. So here comes the quote, old guys, is my guess. And in some order, I'm going to say Tyreek, Diggs, Adams, Cup, I'm not so sure about.
So you think all 4 of those are among the top 10?
Top 10, yeah.
You got half right. Tyreek Hill is the wide receiver 7. Stephon Diggs is the wide receiver 10. Adams is not on the list, though he's in that range.
Can't be too far off.
Scanning the list. Let's see. Diggs is 10. And then I see 3 more names. So Devontae Adams is wide receiver 13.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty far off.
Yeah, not on the list. And honestly, Cooper Kupp is way down the list. Was getting drafted in the 5th, 6th, 7th round, actually.
Okay.
I don't think that could be representative of his real value. He actually has he's actually right behind J.K. Dobbins in ADP, which is crazy. So
yeah, that's crazy.
That might, I don't know what that is. That might be an oversight or something, but Cooper Kupp certainly not valued as a 5th rounder.
Okay.
Which is what our data says this month.
I got some other names here I'm feeling good about.
Okay.
Amon-Ra
is wide receiver 6.
Good. Okay.
So let's stop there and let's kind of reset a little bit.
All right.
Jefferson and Chase, no arguments, no discussion needed. AJ Brown at 3. We have agreed for a while that that's locked in.
Strong, yeah.
I know you're not necessarily sold on Lamb at 4, but if you put Lamb, Waddle, St. Brown, those are your top 6. Any real arguments with that 6?
No. I mean, are we sold on St. Brown?
Well, that's really the one I want. Yeah, I am
too.
In fact, I would maybe even have him higher on this list. I think it would be reasonable to take him above Jalen Waddle, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just has the least pedigree, and if they all walked in the room, he doesn't look like DK Metcalf. You know what I mean? But I'm sold on him. I think he's an excellent football player.
Yeah. And then we get to those old guys, as you called them. Wide receiver 7 is Tyreek Hill.
They're fading quick, though.
They are, and I guess, I guess my hesitation or what perplexes me a little bit is we've got Hill at 7, Diggs at 10. I already told you that Adams is 13 and Kupp is far down the list. I just feel like all 4 of these guys should be valued about the same, and to see the gap in their value is really a surprise.
They're ultra productive,
Right. And we said it on here a month ago, maybe not quite that long ago. They're all going to be buys this offseason. If you've got a contender, and really even if you don't, buy these guys at any kind of discount you can get. And if you want to sell them during the regular season, you're going to make a profit off that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Matt, you've got 2 guys left. There's some others I want to discuss as well that I think are noteworthy that didn't quite crack the top 10. We're going to finish up this conversation right after the break.
Okay. I think I know who those 2 are, but in the meantime, let me tell you again about Prize Picks. And Prize Picks is great because you don't have to play against anybody else. It's just a number in front of you. Is Pat Mahomes, is Tyreek Hill, or any of these guys going to go over that number? Or are they going to do less than that number? So I've done very, very well. And I stick to NFL, but there's everything you could imagine. I mean, there's WNBA and esports and NASCAR and cricket and boxing and, of course, hockey and golf and all those as well. And what you do is you pick between 2 to 5 players, and if they will score more or less than their Prize Pick projection. And you can win up to 10 times your money, which I've done before, which is unbelievable. Again, you're not competing against anybody else. I like that. Entries take no time at all. It's super easy. The withdrawals are wonderful, safe, fast, easy, as I said. Currently operational right now in 30 states as well as Canada. So download the Prize Picks app or go to prizepicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users, you receive 100% instant deposit match. It's up to $100 with promo code Locked On. So if you deposit $100, Prize Picks gives you $100. If you deposit $50, Prize Picks gives you $50. I mean, you get the idea here. Don't forget to enter promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100.
Okay, Matt, you said you know who they are. 2 wide receivers left on our top 10 list. One of these is a first rounder in our Dynasty ADP. Who you got?
Really? Okay. I'm going with T. Higgins.
That's him. He is the wide receiver 8. And he is also the 12th player chosen overall. So he's a first rounder.
That surprises me a little. I mean, especially with our conversation yesterday about should you take Josh Allen in the first round? Like, I might take Josh Allen over T. Higgins. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, there's your case. Maybe Allen and Mahomes do belong closer to that first round.
I know there's a ton of great receivers. You know, there's Metcalf and Debo and dudes like that. But I think at this point, Garrett Wilson would be my choice here.
And Garrett Wilson is the choice. He's the wide receiver 9. You did much better on the receivers than than I gave you credit for. You only missed a couple with those old guys tripping you up a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's Garrett Wilson
closer together too, as you mentioned earlier. The old guys.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. Garrett Wilson is wide receiver 9. We already talked about Diggs at 10. I guess I was surprised that wide receiver 11 was not higher. That's Chris Olave.
Olave and Wilson are pretty close to me, but
right.
Quarterback concerns. For both.
Quarterback concerns, honestly, for a lot of these players.
Yeah.
Right. Including our 2 Miami guys all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Who are you trusting?
Right. Let's go down the list a little bit further here. You talked about that name, DK Metcalf. He is the wide receiver 12. We already said Adams was 13. Devontae Smith, wide receiver 14. He's a late second rounder in this ADP, has really played well, really the entire season, but especially the last month or so. Does that feel like the right value for Devontae Smith, or is that a little too high for you?
No, I'm glad you brought him up because I was going to that. I think should be as much of a riser as anybody here. Like I knew he wasn't going to be top 10. I mean, we know that, but I think the gap between him and AJ Brown isn't dissimilar to Chase and Higgins. I mean, he's that good a player to me.
Yeah. Devontae Smith is 23rd overall. 24th overall is also a receiver. That's Drake London. So we've got 3 rookies in that top 24, Wilson, London, and Chris Olave, all 3 in the second round, actually. I don't know. I'm going to say a couple more names here, Matt, and just want you to tell me where you think the drop-off is, and maybe we've already had it with Smith or London. Deebo Samuel, Chris Godwin, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman.
DJ Moore is a buy for me because I think he has to get a spike in quarterback and system.
Yeah, I hope so.
You would think.
DJ Moore, 34 overall, so he's a late third rounder. Michael Pittman is right behind him. Obviously, also a late third rounder. Another rookie, actually a couple more rookies to kick off round 4. George Pickens and Treylon Burks are the next 2 guys in line. Have we hit a drop off yet? You like all these?
Yeah, but I mean, Burks to me is not anywhere close to Olave, or I don't even think you said the word McLaurin unless I missed it. I would take him way over Burks.
No, McLaurin's actually down there in the 5th round. A little bit of a surprise there. He's behind his teammate, Jahan Dotson, even. I would say the drop off for me comes probably after Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith, I said, was 23 overall. Drake London right behind him. I'm not as sold on London as I am on Wilson and Olave. I see a gap there between those rookies, and then throughout those names, Debo, Godwin. Quarterback questions about both of those 2 as well.
Sure.
DJ Moore feels like he should be a little bit higher, given that he's produced despite
no matter what. Right.
Yeah. Despite the poor quarterback play and really poor offensive system in general. So that is it. Those are your top 10 dynasty wide receivers and tight ends. I'll read those names one more time for you. Top 10 dynasty wide receivers according to January DLF Dynasty ADP: Jefferson, Chase, AJ Brown, Lamb, Waddle, St. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Higgins, Garrett Wilson, and Stephon Diggs. Tight ends: Pitts, Andrews, Kelsey, Kittle, Hawkinson, Goddard, Freiermuth, Waller, Evan Ingram, and Dalton Schultz. That is it for today's show. Please make sure you download and subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe to the Locked On Dynasty channel on YouTube. Remember to follow the show on Twitter at Locked On Dynasty. Follow Matt at Williamson NFL. And I'm Ryan MC23. We'll be back next time with more Locked On Dynasty.